What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here. That's Dean78904. That is the daily fantasy handle that hopefully, potentially, maybe we'll see taking down some contests going down tonight on the old Fanduel or on Draftkings. Not just for baseball, maybe for some football too. We're dabbling. 2 games in the football as well. We'll have you covered for that. Well, not this particular group, although I think Stevie might be running it back. There's a separate stream at 6:45 taking you up to the 2-gamer going down tonight. Buffalo versus Tennessee, and I believe it's Philadelphia versus Minnesota. There's showdown slates. There's 2 gamers, lots of places to. But hey, this isn't football. I don't know why I'm talking about football. Steve, you're gonna be back, right? You're gonna be back on the football show. Is that correct? Did I misspeak?
Yeah, I'll be back at 6:45 Eastern with my good buddy Will. We'll be talking 2-game NFL slate.
What are you guys talking? Do you guys talk? I guess you're talking the 2-gamer, the showdown, or all of it, or what?
I mean, I think we'll cover the 2-gamer and showdown. I mean, we have 30 minutes before lock on the pre-lock show, and I mean, these 2 NFL games, they pretty much, you have an idea of what you want to do in both sides. So I think we'll be able to cover pretty much everything and probably answer questions, which is completely opposite of what this show will do. We won't answer any questions because Dean will blab and get off topic at least 6 times. So I set the over under at 5.5.
5.5 blabs? 5.5 what?
5.5 talking something that has nothing to do with baseball.
Oh, smash the over. I mean, if I can manipulate the line, can I bet that before the line moves? Because I would absolutely smash the over on that for sure. Joining us, it's a 3-man booth, not just the 2 of us. It's not an intimate show. It's myself, Stevie, and TJ Zorich, TJ_Zorich5 on the old Twitter machine, the greatest DFS player in all of Saskatchewan, all of Saskatoon, Canada. What's up, TJ? How's Monday treating you? I think if I peeked, if I remember correctly, it's all kind of a blur this weekend. Too much football. Were you at another convention this weekend? Was there another convention going on?
I was at the Edmonton Expo. They had a ton of great guests. I had a really awesome time. I met the voice actor for my favorite character in all of Star Wars, so that was a lot of fun. And then they had the Trailer Park Boys were there. The cast of Clerks was there. A bunch of voice actors for video games. Stevie, do I remember this correctly that you've played? You either are or have been an Overwatch guy?
No.
Is it Apex?
Does that count as one, by the way, or do I have to be associated with it? Because that would be one. That
was me. That was on me. That's not on you. But yeah, a lot of video game voice actors, a lot of actors from Marvel shows, Star Wars shows. The Boys, Frenchie and Kimiko were there, and so it was pretty cool. Got to do lots of interviews. It was a great time.
Good show for the family, right? You recommend the kids watch The Boys?
Sounds great family friendly show.
You watch The Boys, Stevie, or no?
Nope.
Just check it out. Put it on the list. I'm not even like a comic book like Marvel guy or whatever, but it's not necessarily that. How would you describe that? It's kind of like anti-superheroes. Is that fair to say, TJ?
I know about the show. It's just not my cup of tea.
All right, fair enough. What do you watch in Stevie household these days?
Rewatching some NFL games. Trying to catch up on Big Brother. It's such a really, really, really busy time of the year for me. So not much TV going on. I am itching to watch Cobra Kai. I want to watch Cobra Kai.
It was my favorite season.
Oh, really? I haven't started it yet, but that's promising. I'm surprised. You think it was the best season? Interesting.
I don't know if it was the best, but it was my favorite.
I mean, it was only going to go up from last season.
They still have their awkward, campy moments between chatting between each other, but I feel like it was the best written story of any of the seasons.
Yeah, it's cheeseball and it's nostalgia, but they have the perfect doses of each, and it just kind of works. I don't know. They walk that line pretty well. It's obviously kind of cheesy, cheeseball.
Plus, I feel like as each season goes on, they're all the actors are just legitimately better fighters too.
Is there fighting in season 5?
Oh yeah.
They don't just get along and have a picnic. There's actually fighting going down.
There's a good little story. I like it. Puts people in the crosshairs, and it's the right amount of letting you be happy with keeping you engaged with some consequences as well.
There's a 7-game Mlb Dfs slate. The slate starts early tonight. Thankfully, the sites cooperated. 6:40, but both starting at 6:40. There's 2 6:40 games. So we get to talk about the Cubbies, Miami, Houston, and Tampa as well. 7-gamer. That's why we're going to be yielding a little bit early to crunch time. Crunch time is going to come around 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Nope. 6 o'clock on the East Coast. You got Dave Potts, Cheese is Good, 2-time millionaire winner, as well as SDL Cards. I presume Roth will be hosting. No weather issues, according to Roth. If anything changes, of course, they'll be all over it. But last I checked, as far as the weather, everything was good to go on this 7-gamer. And again, like we said, there's going to be a football show. If you guys want football content, Stevie will be taking you guys up to lock 7:15 on that if you're planning your night. I'll throw it to you, TJ. It's a really straightforward slate. Like, the hitters, of course, baseball variants, yada yada. The good hitters, the good pitchers, and there's a game in Coors. Atlanta's well positioned against kind of a gas can there for Washington. That's kind of the obvious stuff. There's some good teams playing. The Dodgers and the Astros have clinched. Other good teams too. They're just facing Burns versus the Mets, and then we got Max coming back tonight. Probably not going to get a full throttle as far as his pitch count. That's why he's going to be pushed down, I presume. Maybe 75, 80 pitches. I haven't seen what the bat has for it, but that seems like a reasonable guess. But give me your screenshot here, TJ, because do you see it like me? It's a pretty straightforward slate, and do with it what you want, pivot how you want in large field tournaments. But that's kind of it's pretty obvious, like the bats you want and the pitchers you want.
Yeah, in terms of bats, it's definitely Coors and Atlanta above everything else. On FanDuel, where I'm playing, I kind of see Coors as my favorite spot just because it's Coors, and I think Atlanta might end up picking up just as much ownership, if not more, as both of those teams, especially probably more than the Rockies. So I'm definitely interested in those games, and I'm not planning on fading them. I think I'm just going to roll with them. And in terms of pitching, it's just kind of gross. The good pitchers are in tough matchups. The bad pitchers have some good matchups. Edward Cabrera is good, but is he $9,600 good on FanDuel? And so I feel a lot better about the bats than I do pitching today.
I did make a Kershaw lineup and just duplicated the same lineup and threw Cabrera in there in FanDuel. They're essentially the same price. I think he's $100 cheaper. But on DK, I know you're not playing there so much. I'm playing there. He's going to be probably the most popular pitcher because you get a big step down as far as savings. Let's see what our ownership has for him. I presume he's going to be the most popular guy. I'm pulling it up right now. I'm going to use the MLB Plate IQ ownership. You can use the bat ownership as well. But you know what? I got it on FanDuel. FanDuel, that's interesting. That's really surprising, actually. We currently have Cabrera as the most owned pitcher on FanDuel. It's close.
Yeah.
Which
that's why I definitely agree with the DraftKings chalk, because he's $2,000 cheaper. He's the second highest projected second highest projected scoring pitcher on the slate, or maybe third right behind Kershaw, depending on where you look. So yeah, I like the chalk on DraftKings. I'm good with the Cabrera chalk on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, I'm definitely going to be looking to make a pivot off of that.
Yeah, Cabrera Burns is going to be a really popular pairing on DK. Our ownership reflects that. Cabrera 7.5 just seems like a mispriced, great ballpark to pitch in, obviously. He's a solid pitcher. And so the Cubs lineup, Stevie, is usually bad. Like today, it's just worse. And there's a ton of strikeouts in there. If you fire up the Plate IQ, collectively, this lineup against righties this year is striking out. Hold on a second. Yeah, 26.5% of the time. That is a monster number. Yan Gomes, who's not a good hitter, he at least makes contact. He'll pop out and he'll ground out. He's only 15.7%, but otherwise, McKinstry's terrible, 26%. A little bit of power, but that should be subdued by the ballpark. Franmil, he's striking out, and the power is down this year too. Obviously, theoretically, he probably smashes BP, but he just has so many holes in his swing. Cleveland just threw him away. Bodie, 32%. We got Morel at the bottom. He's been exposed at 34%. Some power there, some speed there, but again, he just strikes out so much. Steve, are you playing on DK tonight? Because Cabrera he does seem underpriced, and it makes perfect sense why he's the most popular pitcher there.
I think Cabrera is the top pitcher on the slate price, matchup, all that stuff. I mean, even if price wasn't a thing, I think I'd have Cabrera ranked over Scherzer, Burns, Kershaw today. The matchup's fantastic. This game's in Miami. The umpire is good. The lineup that they're rolling out there is a low walk lineup. And I mean, that's where Cabrera struggles, is with, teams that are patient. So I don't even care what his price is. I'm playing Cabrera today. Talked about this in the expert survey. I'm going to be underweight on Scherzer, Burns, and Kershaw, and overweight on Cabrera and Wright. And hopefully that can make my Baltimore, Atlanta, San Francisco teams just different. Because, I mean, you can easily play Cabrera and Scherzer or Cabrera and Burns and still get some of these top stacks because there are so many cheap bats on the slate. So I do disagree with you, though. I don't think Max Scherzer is going to be on a pitch limit today. I think we're going to get full-blown 95-plus pitch Max Scherzer tonight. Like, they're a game up on the Braves, man. Like, every game matters for the Mets right now, and this game's huge when it comes to. I mean, we're 2 weeks out, 2.5 weeks out from, the end of the season. So, being the 2 seed, no one's catching the Dodgers in the NL. They're going to be the 1 seed, but being the 2 seed is a week off, and that gives you a huge advantage. So these games matter. I think we get six good innings from Scherzer tonight.
Do we want to hear the unhelpful quote?
Yeah. What do you got? Go for it.
Max Scherzer won't be going real deep in quotations tonight. Per Buck Showalter, Scherzer threw 59 pitches in his rehab start last week and will be, in quotations, between 70 and 100 pitches tonight. Showalter said somewhat tongue-in-cheek, it'll probably be closer to the former than the latter. So we have nothing.
Per the bat, by the way, for what it's worth, but 74, and I'm guessing it's just added 15, right? Which is kind of the standard increment. When you kind of build your arm back up, 59 pitches plus 15 is 74. He did say, yeah. I
wish I could get the over on 74 pitches.
I wish I could get the under 90. Well, what did you say, 90?
I said 95.
Oh, can I get the under 95?
I mean, we could bet some jelly beans.
And you are right. Like, and it's interesting. We'll talk about Houston and the Dodgers, how they're going to be coasting in. And I guess that's, winning the division is important to get that. Does the winner automatically get the bye or just get the home field?
It's an automatic bye.
I remember last time somebody was very upset at us. We didn't know the playoff format.
I did research afterwards. I mean, we do DFS, right? I do one season long baseball league, and it's the RotoGrinders league that we've been doing for years and years and years. So I don't look at that stuff. So until it becomes relevant for DFS, which is now, we're 2.5 weeks out. Who's playing for something that matters and who's not matters in DFS. So, I mean, there's 2 buys. There's 3 wild card spots. So the 2 buys matter. So, I mean, the Dodgers are kind of coasting. The Astros are kind of coasting.
Yeah.
And outside of that, we still have some stuff where it definitely matters. Yeah.
It's weird that there's not a lot of playoff drama. Like you said, 2.5 weeks left. I don't recall this happening, but the season's ending on a Wednesday, which I don't remember that ever happening. It used to end on a Sunday, but they're ending the season on a Wednesday unless something's changed. And the Yankees are in, Atlanta's in, the Mets are in, Toronto's in, Tampa, barring something really goofy. Tampa's in, St. Louis is in, the Mariners are in, the Guardians 91%, Philadelphia 78%. There's so little drama this year. There's a small chance, a pinch for Baltimore. It's a small chance for the White Sox, but the drama's lacking. TJ, I mean, I don't know. And also, Stevie, your team is out. I don't have a team. So if I had a team that was contending, I would probably follow a little bit more as far as that, and I'll take note of it more as it matters for DFS the last week of the season, whatever it is, last 10 days. But yeah, man, the playoffs will be fun, TJ. But where's the drama this year? It's just non-existent.
It's all in the AL East, and since that's where all my attention is, it feels pretty drama-filled to me.
Well, what's the drama there? Toronto's
until
the Yankees.
Until the most recent series, it was very close between the Rays the Jays as well as the Orioles. But because the Orioles have now fallen below, they're kind of out of contention.
They're done,
but
basically. Yeah.
The Jays could still catch the Yankees, but also the Jays and the Rays are up and back and forth one over the other right now for the wild card home field.
Is that what would they play against each other and that would be home field? Is that what we're looking at?
I think yes.
Yeah, but you're not catching the Yankees. You're 7 games behind with like 17 games left.
Five and a half.
Yeah.
Well, in the win column, you're 7 games behind. You're 7 games behind in the loss column. Unless somebody this long.
No,
you
5
need
and a
to
half.
refresh your. Yeah. What are you looking at?
The Yankees are 88. The Yankees are 88 and 58, and the Blue Jays are 83 and 64.
Yeah, I don't know what you're looking at, Dean, but you're getting. You need to refresh.
Oh, you know what? I'm looking at a simulated season.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Because Baltimore is not out of it yet. I mean,
well, they're not mathematically out of it, but they're out. Come on.
No, they're not.
They got to
you got to remember 4 games out of the wild card.
Yeah, it's 3 wild cards this year. So Baltimore is 4 games behind Seattle. It's like 3.5. But
I'm rooting for Baltimore. I'd love to see them make it, but it didn't happen.
I want Seattle to make it though. I think Seattle would have a legit chance.
They're
not in yet. Oh God, this guy! I'm leaving. I'm going to do a football show.
It's like a lock. 95% chance they're making.
Oh my gosh! If you're a Seattle fan, I'm so sorry that Dean just jinxed you so much.
Oh man, yeah. Well, Seattle, and also J-Rod's been hurt. He's dealing with a back, which is not good. He's like 22. He's got a back issue already, but hopefully, I don't know if he was playing today or not, but he's missed the last several games. You know what? Daily fantasy sports we care about today and today only. But yeah, that's a conversation that we had down the road. But I guess the stuff that I'm looking at was projections. But I still think, well, whatever. Not worth getting into. My bad. Drop the L on me.
Next weekend, next week, the Blue Jays play the Yankees in a series, and so that it will determine whether or not they have a chance to win the division.
Well, TJ, you're not playing on DK. I guess I don't know if you have any thoughts there. By all means, feel free to share them. But
always got thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, Cabrera is going to be the most popular guy there. 7.5K, just distinctly underpriced. Great ballpark, good matchup. He does have some walk issues, but it's a lineup doesn't walk for Chicago. They strike out plenty. He helps make stuff work, and you can poke holes in Scherzer, and he throws between 70 and 95 pitches. Again, I think 75 to 80 seems more realistic. We'll see. But good luck taking the ball out of Scherzer's hand sometimes too, right? He doesn't deal well with that sometimes. But the pivots away from Cabrera. Kershaw, a team that's clinched. Kershaw has had arm problem. He's had issues this year. Maybe they let him go 90 pitches or so. Maybe if you're lucky, maybe 85. But he can be efficient in 6 or 7 innings and just be perfectly okay. Your take as far as getting away from the chalk, Cabrera, and I guess Cabrera Burns combination, just as a general thought when you're running out 2 pitchers. Wright's good. It's pretty good. Not a great ballpark, but fine matchup. Garcia's okay. Good ballpark there in Tampa. There's some pretty good pitchers that are worth considering tonight, basically. How would you attack the DK slate?
So this, to me, tonight's slate feels a lot less like a baseball slate and a lot more like a football or a basketball slate to me. It's kind of like you said, it feels very straightforward. I don't want to be making any crazy pivots. I'm going to be making 1 or 2 in my lineup. I'm not going to be worried about getting overly different. I'm just going to be making sure I have a unique lineup. And so on DraftKings, where Cabrera is super cheap, I don't really feel the need to pivot off of him. But if I do, I'm not going to be looking to go for one of these cheaper guys. I'm going to play Scherzer and Burns together. I'm going to double pay up and hope Burns has a good game and they just decide they're not taking and Scherzer's just going to be dueling with him. And both of them go 6 to 7 innings with 10 strikeouts. So I'm not going to be trying to do a straight line or a lower pivot off of Cabrera. I'm just going to be doing the double pay up. And I think for me personally, I'm going to be fading Kershaw today.
Fair enough. By the way, according to Twitter, it appears that the proud of UCF, Gabe Davis, unlikely to play tonight. So
can you let me know if you see anything on Kyle Phillips? Because that's the one I'm waiting for.
I can let you know. Well, I mean, actives an hour and a half beforehand, so we're not an hour and a half just yet. but a report did come out. But yeah, I'll let you know if I see anything as far as
because
is
they
he
called
like
up
second or third receiver in Tennessee.
Well, he was the number 1 receiver in the first game.
Yeah,
had the most targets, had the most production, but also like they called up Josh Gordon today from the practice squad, so it kind of seemed like he was going to be out. But then apparently his warm up has looked good, and so he might be in. I don't know.
We shall see. Yeah, if nothing else, at least football, they know that there's a lot of gamblers out there. You know, they cater to them, and they'll make sure the DFS players as well to give the information as far as if they're active or not. Mr. Richard wants to know, what's up, chat? Kindly hit that like button, do subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Not just for baseball, but if you want a bunch of different football shows, we have you covered pretty much every single night for that. Showdown slates we're talking about Sunday morning. Everything NFL-wise, not too far down the road, basketball. Basketball starts actually a month from today. It starts on the 19th. It's a 2-gamer. And it's like a 12-gamer, and then it's a 2-gamer, and it's like a 12-gamer. I hate when they do that, but that's what we're looking at as far as opening week for the association. Stevie, Mr. Richard wants to know in chat, how about Wade Miley for DK for tournaments? He's cheap, and the Marlins stink. Yeah, is Wade Miley in your pool? Are you making your 3 lineups tonight? What are you doing?
I haven't decided. I have one lineup that I really like, and I don't know if I'm just going to go single entry or if I'm going to build 2 more. See. But, I mean, I think Wade Miley is okay. I think that he's someone at 6,600. If you don't want to play Cabrera as like an SP2, you could play Miley instead. I don't hate that. I mean, outside of Anderson, maybe Fortes, there's just not a lot of power in this Miami lineup. This game's in Miami. They have a good pitcher's umpire. That's something that's a benefit here for Miley. My concern with Wade Miley is just how deep is he going to pitch into this game? Is he going to be capped at 75 pitches for the rest of the season? The Cubs aren't playing for anything. Is Wade Miley coming back next year? I mean, there's so many questions when it's surrounding Wade Miley in general. So, I mean, the Marlins lineup stinks. So if you want to take a shot on Wade Miley, there's not many spots that are going to be better than facing Miami.
It's loaded with strikeouts too. We're talking about both these teams just loaded out strikeout guys.
And I think the answer is definitely yes, because the question is, can you have Wade Miley in MME? So if you're max entering a contest, absolutely he should be in your pool on DraftKings.
What percentage though? If you're hypothetically running out 100 lineups, TJ, how many do you think what Miley would crack? This is obviously in DK. Well, you got 2. What's the percentage on Miley? What's the
10 to 20%? 10 to 20%. I try and double the field.
What is the field currently projected? Now I'm looking. I figured he'd be around 10%. 9% is our current projection, at least according to the BAT, as far as the ownership projection. I saw that too, Stevie, as far as Miley, and I'm like, his pitch count's been kind of suppressed of late, but at least according to Cardi, he's got him at 91 pitches, which I thought was a little high. 95. That seemed a little high to me, Stevie, but who I'd argue with Cardi?
I mean, he hasn't thrown more than 83 pitches all year, so I think 95 is probably high, but who knows? I mean, he's in a contract year, so Wade Miley has something to pitch for, but like I said, is he going to come back next year? I think that's kind of a question mark. He's 35 years old.
Retire.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be 36 by the start of next season, so like this might be like his last go at it. He can't stay healthy. I mean, there's just so many question marks with Wade Miley. But like you guys said, this was an MME question on DraftKings where Cabrera is going to be massive chalk. Wade Miley definitely potential pivot in large field tournaments. Because, I mean, you're not playing Abbott. You're not playing Alexander. You're not playing Cool. You're not playing Junis. Tyler Wells might be on a pitch count here as well, coming back from the IL. He only threw 50 pitches in his last start. Maybe he gets 70, 75 pitches here. So, I mean, there's just not many pivots off of Cabrera, and that's why Cabrera is so popular in this matchup against Chicago.
Yeah, the pool is, TJ, do you have a pool tonight as far as on FanDuel? You running a bunch of lineups, making one main lineup, but how are we attacking this slate?
I'm making one main lineup, but to be honest, I'm feeling a little wishy-washy on whether or not I want to go all in on Scherzer, and so I think I'm going to, in my small field stuff, roll one entry, but it's going to have Burns, and then I'm just going to swap that to Scherzer in my bigger field stuff.
Okay. Man, you guys are both optimistic on Scherzer, and maybe I'm too low on him. And he also like. It's funny. We talked about it last week. I don't know if you guys were on the show. It was me and Tim, I think, talking about Verlander. And it's like Houston's got nothing to play for, and it was also a slate with a lot of good pitchers. And we're like, yeah, he's not going to throw a lot of pitches. He might be really good for 5 innings against Oakland, and he threw a no-hitter for 5 innings. They still gave him the hook, but he struck out 9, and he was good. But like, you really got to thread that needle. And I suppose
Scherzer, for me, it's just kind of a gross pitching slate, and Max Scherzer is going to be 5-ish% owned. And so if Max Scherzer is going to be 5-ish% owned on Fanduel where I'm playing, then I can load up on all the cheap Coors bats that are going to be chalky that I want, and I'm going to have a pitcher with the second highest ceiling on the slate because we have no idea what his pitch count is.
What is gross about Burns and Kershaw and Cabrera? That's gross. You don't like? What don't you like about that?
The only one with a good matchup is Cabrera, and $9,600 for Cabrera is not something I'm at all comfortable with.
Money doesn't matter. You built lineups today on FanDuel. Money doesn't matter on FanDuel. You could build a really good lineup with $9,600 Cabrera. The prices are goofy.
Yeah, but he's the same price as Kershaw, Wright, and barely cheaper than Scherzer and Burns. So I'd rather play Scherzer and Burns. And so it's gross because Burns has a tough matchup. Kershaw has a tough matchup and maybe a pitch count. Kyle Wright is fine against Washington. Scherzer, we're worried about pitch count, and Cabrera is basically the same price as those guys.
Yeah, I mean, you can make that argument, which is fine. I'm saying the salary argument. Salary doesn't matter. On FanDuel, like, I got basically the lineups I want.
But it's still relative to the other pitchers on the slate. And so, like, Cabrera all of a sudden is pretty gross when you compare him to the others in that pool.
Yeah, I'm saying to me, it's just, who is he keeping you from is my question, because he's not keeping me from anybody. I'm making the hitting the lineups I want, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. But it's about, like, how many pitchers are there that can hit a big ceiling tonight? On FanDuel, probably literally just Corbin Burns and Max Scherzer if he has a big pitch count. Like, does anybody else have a shot putting up over 60?
I don't think Scherzer has a shot at putting up 60. I mean, I don't think you need 60, to be clear, but I don't think he's putting up 60. Because he's got to go like 6 innings and strike out 11. Like, that's not happening. I don't think it's happening. I'll speak it into existence. There you go. I mean, I'm more on the side of he's going to throw 80 to 85 pitches as opposed to 95, whatever. Just sit, and you don't need 60. But we'll see. And Kyle Wright's a pretty good pitcher in the match.
Well, you probably won't need it, but if somebody gets it on this slate, you will not win a tournament without them.
Correct. I'm trying to think who else it possibly could be.
And so I'm just going to play those 2 pitchers on FanDuel in my 1 lineup, or maybe 2 lineups that I think have a shot at 60, because I don't really care about their median projections.
I'm curious what we have as far as like raw point projection, because I feel like we got Burns slightly ahead of Kershaw, and then Cabrera's right there, Wright's right there. We have a very healthy projection on Tyler Wells, which is a little surprising to me. Like the match, like,
that's a salary I just don't think you need tonight.
Correct. Yeah. That's on FanDuel, like, it's kind of a pick 'em, not kind of, but you know what I mean. Like, the core stuff is pretty cheap. Atlanta, a lot of the Atlanta pieces are pretty cheap. Just sort of making my lineups. And I guess we'll talk hitting obviously in a second. And like, nobody's going to be playing Yordan Alvarez, nobody, relatively speaking, for a 7-game slate. And I guess his wrist is fine. I guess his hand is fine that they're banging out 3 homers the other day. And, you know, the ballpark obviously stinks. Rasmussen's been pretty good. It'll be an interesting conversation for tournaments there. But, you know, I think the ownership's going to condense on Coors, on Atlanta, maybe some Dodgers. We'll have that conversation with Stacks in a second. You got anything else, Stevie, as far as pitchers?
I mean, I'm a little bit higher on Tyler Wells than you. On DraftKings, not on FanDuel. I mean, again, just Cabrera is going to be 40 to 50% owned. Wells is going to be 10 to 15% owned, and he's facing Detroit. So if he does get like that high end of, 75 to 80 pitches, then I mean, it's a good spot. And like, Baltimore's bullpen's really good. So if he gets into trouble, he's probably not going deep into this game. So I mean, it's a boom bust spot. Good potential pivot off of Cabrera for tournaments. back to the Scherzer thing, just really quick, as far as like the confidence, I feel like it's a great tournament play because he's going to be low owned and he has a massive ceiling. If he's pitching well, they probably let him get to that 90 to 100 pitch mark. If he's not pitching well, don't expect him to go deep into this game. So if you want your tournament ceiling from Scherzer, he needs to be pitching well anyway. So, I mean, we didn't really talk about Burns. It's a tough matchup against the Mets. They're one of the lowest strikeout teams in baseball, but Corbin Burns is one of the best strikeout pitchers in baseball, and he's not going to be popular either. Kershaw, his pitch count is something that just worries me. Like we talked about, the Dodgers are just on cruise control, man. So unless he just goes out and throws an absolute gem, and he did last time he faced this team 5 days ago, but it was still one of those games where he was at 82 pitches through 7. He had he had four strikeouts through the first 2 or 3 innings, and then just kind of pitched to contact and got to the 7th, and they're like, hey, you're done. And he was at 82 pitches and throwing a shutout. So, I mean, you saw his ceiling. His ceiling's 28. And, I mean, 28 on this slate would be fantastic. But, I mean, he pitched fantastic in that game. Anything else happens in that game, and he doesn't get to that 28 mark. So, by process of elimination, I think we can kind of figure out our pitchers. But I just want to bring up Kyle Wright really quick. Washington stinks. They're bad. Not a good team. They're looking towards the future. The dude they called up, Call, he's shown a little bit of power, but outside of Voit, there's not a ton of power in this lineup. Kyle Wright's not a guy that walks a lot of people. He can strike out people when he's on. If you get the good Kyle Wright, he's definitely in play for tournaments as an SP2 or even an SP1 if you're playing Cabrera, if you're playing on DraftKings with the pricing. But, I mean, it would be Cabrera SP1, Wright SP2.
Yeah, and then we saw, talk about going back to Kershaw, Dave Roberts, manager Dave Roberts, he's well aware that they're on cruise control, and it makes it super obvious when he's pulling Dustin May, he's throwing a no-hitter with 5 innings, and of course May coming back from injury. They've already had several pitchers lost for the year. Bueller, they're looking at they're looking at October, they're looking at the World Series. That game didn't mean anything, and Kershaw threw 82 pitches, which is promising, but that was through 7. And he's not going up incrementally as far as his pitches, right? 82 last time, before that 86, before that 74. That's basically where he's going to sit. Maybe he's super efficient again and he goes 7 innings. He should be fine from a run prevention perspective, but the ceiling is the roof, as Michael Jordan would say, right? But by the way, if the people didn't piece it together, when you said 28, you're talking DK, and when TJ said 60, he was talking FanDuel. So as far as ceiling, just if that's confusing to somebody out there, the points obviously you gain more on FanDuel, and I don't know what's 28 points on FanDuel, 45, something like that.
The other thing I'll say is on FanDuel, just before we kind of pivot over to hitting, if I was MMEing on FanDuel today, I think the way I'd run it would be 30% Burns, 30% Scherzer, 30% Wright, 10% Cabrera.
That's about
maybe 25.
Dean doesn't know anything over 10%.
I'm rostering 10 pitchers at 10% each. That's just how it goes. You know how that's. I got to stay on brand. Otherwise, if I, God forbid, I won something and I did that with rostering a guy at 20%, I'd be ashamed. I would not show that to the people for sure. We didn't mention Luis Garcia. He's on another team that's just kind of cruising. He's a fine pitcher. It's a fine ballpark, but just seems pretty unnecessary to me, TJ. Feel free to touch that if you want. Give your final thoughts as far as pitchers. We'll talk stacks in a second. Do you throw out whatever topic y'all want us to talk about? Fire it off there in chat. We're going to go around the horn in a bit. 25 minutes or so. Crunch time crew is going to come in. They're coming in early because of the early start time. 6:40 is locked for baseball. And then, of course, there's football later on. That stream will be firing up immediately after crunch time. What do you have here, TJ, as far as Luis Garcia, as far as pitching in general? I know you just gave some thoughts. People are coming in and out. Just feel free to reiterate.
Yeah, and so I honestly don't think I gave Garcia enough credit. If I was MMEing on FanDuel, I might have him in my pool. This lineup for Tampa, it's fine. It's got a lot of strikeouts in the back half. It doesn't have much in the front half. Got a lot of young players in it. So He's somebody that I think I would keep in my pool if I'm running lots of lineups, but at the same time, I'm not overly excited about him.
So stacks tonight, if you pull up our consensus rankings as far as stacks, it's going to be some combination of Atlanta and Coors, and then the Dodgers kind of knocking the door, and then Baltimore as well. I think that's exclusively what they are, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pulling it up on the fly, but when I peeked earlier, that's what it looked like to me as far as the top 5 stacks. Do you agree with that, TJ? Is there somebody that you feel really strongly is the best stack? Somebody that's too high?
The closest one I'm feeling to too high is going to be Atlanta, but I understand it. They're just so easy to fit in, and these guys have so much power. So Atlanta would probably be the one I would be looking to get the most underweight on, just based on ownership projections. I have them in my top 3 with Colorado and San Francisco, but they are 3rd for me. The Dodgers, I think, would be my favorite team to try to get overweight to in tournaments, as well as Baltimore. But in my single lineup at the moment, I'm personally just thinking I'm probably going to be doing some Coors Field and maybe trying to get different with a one-off somewhere.
Yeah, Atlanta's facing Corey Abbott dating back to last season, 57.5% as far as fly balls, not striking out enough, 18.6%, walking too many, 11.4%. The homer on the fly ball isn't crazy at 16%, and all those fly balls turn into homers, 2.58 homers per 9, which is a lot. That is a plethora. And, of course, the ballpark's not going to help them there, and Atlanta either. Stevie, what say you as far as stacks?
I mean, I like Atlanta a lot. Obviously, I like the Giants, but I'm ending up on Baltimore. I really like this spot for Baltimore tonight. Again, going back to our conversation that we kind of started the show, they have a chance, even though Dean doesn't think they have a chance. They do have a chance to still make it. And, I mean, this lineup, it's kind of juicy, and Detroit bullpen is so far gone. Alexander is not a huge strikeout pitcher, so we can kind of target Rutschman, Mountcastle, Santander, Jesus Aguilar if you need some money savings, Hayes if you need some money savings. So I'm ending up on Baltimore, and I mean I just overall really like this spot for them. So as much as I like Atlanta and as much as I like San Francisco, Baltimore might be my main stack, but my team that I built on DK before the show was a 4-2-2, and I kind of like it. So if you're playing Cabrera, that's one way to be different tonight, is just kind of maybe your roster construction, because I have no issues playing a chalk pitcher and just being different with my lineup construction, and I think that's kind of where I'm going to end up tonight.
Yeah, I like a 3-3-1-1, 3-3-2, a combination like that. It's a lot of people like their 4-4s or their 4-3-1, that kind of thing, but maybe bringing in a third team or even a fourth team. You got to get lucky, obviously, with the one-offs. I did pull off Fangraphs on the fly. Just according to Fangraphs, to make the playoffs, Baltimore's got a 0.9% chance. So cue up Jim Carrey. So you're telling me there's a chance. There's a chance. It's not very good.
I don't understand that, though. 0.9 doesn't.
Fangraphs.
I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah.
It's probably not wrong. And but looking at it, they're 3.5 games back. I mean, them and the White Sox are 3.5 games back. So 3.5 games with 2.5 weeks is solid.
They end the year against the Blue Jays too.
I would imagine they factor an opponent too. I'm guessing, but I don't know.
After the Tigers, it is difficult. It's Astros, Red Sox, Yankees, Blue Jays. But I mean, if they win, they're probably going to be in.
Brewers 29.6% for the record. They're still battling. Who do we say? Seattle. Seattle, I said, is basically in. What are they? 98.9%. Yeah, Seattle's in. Come on, they're in. Just give them the playoff. Congratulations, Mariners. You made the playoffs. Well done. Good job. We're all rooting for you.
I'm so glad I'm not a Seattle fan.
I just want to mush one of these teams.
Well, what's funny though is, I mean, Seattle definitely has the cupcake finish. They get Oakland starting tomorrow, then they get Kansas City, then they get Texas, and then Oakland, and then Detroit. So
yeah, they're in.
They're probably in. I'm just saying, unless some weird stuff happens, but I mean, I wouldn't say 0.9% for Baltimore. But yeah, I mean, Seattle's in a good spot.
Yeah, and I like
that grand slam that Carlos Santana just hit probably will help too. How about Carlos Santana this year?
He was terrible to start the season, and I feel like he's been better in Seattle. which is a terrible
This is his
ballpark.
18th home run.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel didn't it take him a while to get going? I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just impressed.
Yeah. It was a good trade for Seattle. It worked out for him because they lost somebody for a while. Did they lose France for a while? I don't recall. Doesn't matter. Let's go around the horn, give our favorite plays position by position. We'll start at the catcher position, Stevie. I presume you want a cheap one. I don't know. I shouldn't presume. I'll just ask you, who do you like a catcher tonight?
I really want Rutschman. I hate paying up a catcher, as you know. I talk about this a lot, but I really want Rutschman. I think this is a fantastic spot for Baltimore. I think he's very talented. I don't like any of the cheap catchers today, which is really weird. Like, if I'm playing any cheap catcher, you're hoping that like Austin Wins is in the lineup, right? At 2K, or Joey Bart. Like, you're hoping that like just one of Wins, I guess one of them would be in the lineup. But I mean, that's where you're probably going to end up if you're going to go cheap, because Bart is 2,800 and Wins is 2K, and they're in cores against Chad Kuhl. So I think that's where the cheap catcher is going to come from. But either Rutschman or Fortes would be my picks if I'm paying up. I plan on paying up today.
There's no chance I'm paying 4-1 for Nick Fortes. Like, there's no chance. I can't do that.
No faith, man.
I mean,
aren't you a Marlins fan?
No,
you're a Marlins fan. Yes,
you are. Many years ago. No.
You have jumped off because you jumped off the bandwagon.
They pushed me away. You know, I can only take so much.
No,
I'm out.
Have to listen. I'm a Dolphins fan, and I've been through the ringer here, but you never know.
Another disaster organization. Servants is really cheap for Colorado. He is stuck in the 9-hole for what it's worth. We have no lineup just yet for the Dodgers, for Arizona, and San Fran. You're right. If Wins cracks that lineup, I'm not certain he'll stick around the entire game, but he is 2K, and he is catcher. If I had all the money in the world, I would play Rutschman. I like Rutschman on Fanduel at 3.1K. I like Baltimore just in general. TJ, what do you got as far as catcher?
You know, I got two plays I like, and it's made me realize on DraftKings, I think there is a very specific build that I really, really like tonight, and it's a stack that we have not mentioned at all. But I like two catchers in it, and it's Chicago. And the reason I like the Chicago Cubs stack against, obviously, the incredibly chalky Cabrera is it's going to be a strikeout, or it's going to be a ball hit very hard. He's a reverse splits pitcher when it comes to power. He's striking out more right-handed bats, but he's giving up a 42% hard hit rate, a 224 ISO to righties this year. If you include his just entire career stats, which don't add much more, it's basically the same thing. Higgins has almost a 200 ISO against righties. Reyes has had a bad year, but we know what he can do. Gomes doesn't have a ton of power, but he's only got a 15% K rate. And then you got Ian Happ and McKinstry, who have pretty good numbers against righties right above them. So I actually am somewhat interested in double paying up at pitcher and running some Cub stacks. And in them, I would like to get Higgins or Gomes.
Is that's got to be a large field you're talking about, I presume?
Or no? Large field or no? Like, I just think on DraftKings. Like, I wouldn't do it on FanDuel because I don't think there's a need, but I think that's a really interesting way to pay up for two of Scherzer, Burns, and Kershaw. Okay.
Let's move to first base. TJ, I'll let you set the table there as far as first. The options are as follows. Well, I'll let you go. I'll let you set the table, and we'll knock it down, myself and Stevie. But where are you going first as far as first base?
Let's do it, and I'll focus more so on FanDuel since I just gave my DraftKings spiel, and that's where you guys are playing more anyways. But on FanDuel specifically, Matt Olson's $1 exactly, and it's just it's tough to get away from. Like, Matt Olson at 2,900 against a soft toss and righty, like, sign me up. And so he's in a phenomenal spot today. He's your cash game play. I'm fine with playing him as a one-off or in an Atlanta stack. We're 24 likes away from our first Spidey Bomb. GrindersLive, we drop them every 50 likes, but we got the Crunch Time crew coming in early today, so you better get those likes up before they get there so I can get in one Spidey Bomb before I go. If I'm not playing Olsen, my favorite players are either CJ Cron or Freddie Freeman up top. Those are kind of the two guys I'd want to go to. Or all the way down to Ryan Mountcastle. That's basically kind of where my entire pool is going to be at first base today. Wilmer Flores is fine, but I'd rather play him at second. Connor Joe is fine, but I'd rather play him in the outfield. Olsen, Crone, Mountcastle, and Freeman is really the only places I'm going to look today.
Stevie, first base. And are you aware that Matt Olson's cold? He's only got one hit in his last 10 games. Can we play him?
Who cares?
I don't care.
He's in a fantastic spot. Yeah, you can play him against Abbott. Come on, man.
Some people like to freak out over hot and cold, you know.
I like hot streaks, but I mean, I would really have to, like, if you really want to like examine a cold streak, go look at like his barrels and stuff like that. Is he getting unlucky, or is he just is he hurt? I mean, most of the time it's hurt when they're not hitting the ball well. But I don't mind Olsen by any means in this spot. I like Mountcastle, but Jesus Aguilar is, the guy that I'm kind of looking at here today, Dean. I just talked about how I want to pay up a catcher. So where do I make that money up? Well, Jesus Aguilar is 2,400 today against Alexander, hitting in that 5-hole. So I mean, he's the guy that I think I'm going to be looking at to save some money. But Mountcastle at 3,900 probably doesn't leave the game. He is banged up a little bit, so maybe he does leave the game. But yeah, I mean, Olsen if you want to pay up, and then Jesus Aguilar on the cheap side.
Aguilar is probably DHing, I'm guessing, right?
He is.
Okay. I hate that ballpark for righty power. That the wall, it's like 380 feet or something like that down the left field line. But he's also a guy, like, when he gets a hold of it, it's usually a no-doubter. But just as a general thought, that's that ballpark, man. It's really not fun for righty power there. Let's jump to second base. Stevie, you can feel free to start us off as far as the keystone position. Who do you like at seconds?
I mean, second's probably like the worst position on the slate tonight. I think we're going to see a lot of ownership for Ryan McMahon and even Mookie Betts. I think a lot of people are going to pay up at second base. And I think both of those guys are solid plays. If you want to save some money, Charles LeBlanc against Wade Miley is 2,300, hitting second tonight for the Marlins. Hate the ballpark. Don't think there's a ton of power there, but he's really cheap. It's a position that I think if you're not going all the way up, with Gresham hitting ninth too, I think if you're not going all the way up to like McMahon or Betts, you're just trying to find one of these value plays. Urias from Baltimore is another guy that has a little bit of power, hitting seventh. So, but like you said, right-handed power now in Baltimore is they killed us this year with this ballpark.
It's kind of annoying, yeah. Don't the fans like the long ball and like enjoy runs? I guess the pitching's looking better, but it works both ways. They don't convert the wall every half inning, but that was the decision they made for whatever reason.
Kyle Phillips active for Monday Night Football.
There you go. Get excited, TJ.
I'm excited. I just put him in my main lineup.
Is that your favorite play in the two-gamer? Are you playing the two-gamer? I presume it's two-gamer and not the showdown?
Yes, I am playing the two-gamer and not the showdown. No, that is not my favorite play. My favorite plays are Isaiah McKenzie and Dawson Knox.
I assume McKenzie is going to get a bump with the absence of Davis. So I haven't seen ownership. Ownership's going to be nuts on the two-game slate anyway, right? But
I think one of the sneakiest things you can do on this two-game slate, and it gives you some really good upside, is you play Josh Allen as your quarterback and you full stack without Stephon Diggs. So you rip one of the running backs, you rip Dawson Knox, but my preference would be Knox with Jamison Crowder and Isaiah McKenzie.
TJ, I'm sorry. Did I ask you about second base?
No, over on Fanduel, Wilmer Flores is going to be my favorite play there, but he's also the chalk. Maxim Muncy is going to be my second favorite over there, but I don't mind the Tyro Estrada pivot off of Flores depending on his lineup position. We are still waiting for that San Francisco lineup. Other than that, though, there's nobody in particular I like. You could take some shots on some cheap Ketel Marte, some cheap Javi Baez, but you also have Zach McKinstry leading off against Cabrera on both sites, almost min price.
All right, let's jump to third, Stevie. Again, about 10, 15 minutes or so. Mike's looking sure what time the crunch time crew's coming in. But we're going to yield to them. They'll take you guys up to lock. It's at 6:40, and then at 6:45, you'll be on another stream. They'll be fired up talking the football showdown slate. When I say you, I mean you, Stevie, yourself, and Will, Chief Justice. Third base, Stevie, get us started.
I'll be wearing the same hat and same shirt. It's gonna be like
no costume change.
no costume change. Third base is a position I think you pay up for tonight, whether it be Riley, Muncy, Bregman, McMahon, Turner. Third base is a position I think there's a lot of opportunity cost if you're going to try to save some money, where I don't think that's the case at second base. I do think that third base is a position that Riley's my favorite. He would be the guy that I'm looking at. I have him tagged as like one of the conviction plays for me tonight on Lineup HQ, and he's a guy that I've built 3 lineups now, and he's in all 3. I love the spot for Austin Riley tonight.
Brian, lifelong fan of Baltimore, in the chat says he likes the wall change. So it's helped the pitchers. Well, sure, it's helped the pitchers. But, these are opinions, I suppose. I don't like it because I like homers. I like runs.
But what he said is it wasn't just that it helped. It wasn't that it helps pitchers. Is that it entices pitchers to want to sign with Baltimore because it's not a ridiculous home run park anymore.
Who have they signed?
It was this year.
Okay, I mean Baltimore traditionally is not.
Who have they? What free agency period with all the open pitchers has happened since the regular season has began?
Okay, well, I look forward to the next Garrett Cole signing in Baltimore. I don't. They got to do it within the system in Baltimore. Typically, they don't sign big free agents since the days of like Albert Bell. They lost a lot of money in that. But yeah, they have a great farm system and the good young players coming up. But we'll see. Stay tuned. I'm rooting for Baltimore. I like this team. Also in chat, Michael's talking about the Colorado bullpen. This is weird because typically they don't have many lefties in their bullpen. And like the site I go to that shows me like the bullpen, the last so many times, Baseball Press, they're only showing 4 bullpen arms for Colorado, which is absurd. I don't know what's going on. Everybody else gets like 8, 9, 10, 11. They're all righties. But like the other tricky part is that Colorado's got these guys like Gomber who will come in and they're not technically bullpen guys. They're sort of like 6 starters / longmen. I don't know is the long story as far as lefties. How many lefties are coming in versus San Fran? But theoretically, you have to assume some are coming. Gomber has not pitched since the 11th. I assume he's with the team. I don't know otherwise. I don't know where else he would be. And Freeland, is he just in the rotation? When is Freeland last pitched? Oh, he's in the rotation. Okay. I assume he's probably pitching tomorrow or something like that. You got anything else, TJ, as far as Colorado's bullpen? Because I'm scrambling on the fly. I meant to look for it. And I saw earlier.
The last tweet on Austin Gomber was September 16th. And it was nothing about, it's all about cards. Like,
who comes in, basically? They only have 4 guys listed in their bullpen. It's really strange. That's got to be inaccurate somewhere. And I'm just trying to think, like, they have a long man ready to go. Traditionally, it would be like a Gomber type, but is there a reason
I assume he's with them if there's been no action with him.
He pitched the 3rd of an inning on the 11th. I don't know what's going on in Colorado. I wish I can be more helpful there. You got anything, Stevie, on that or no?
Well, why don't, as Stevie answers, why don't you peek at the bat projections and see what the pinch hit risk for the team is?
Okay. Well, do you think the bat is okay? I'll look and see. We don't have a lot of this yet, but yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
I was gonna say I use the same site that you do, and I'm seeing the same thing. So
it's weird, right?
It is. I mean, just kind of looking at plate IQ. I know Blatch is not a starter, so there's one. Gomber is not a starter. They called up 2 other lefties, so they have 5 bullpen lefties right now. From what I'm looking at in plate IQ.
Okay. Oh yeah, I should have looked there. Company man. Ty Bloch has not pitched since the 4th. I think they sent him down. He was down in AAA on the 6th, but
so even if he is sent down, it's still 3 or 4 lefties in this bullpen.
Yeah, and
Gomber late though. They don't usually throw him early.
Is AAA even is their season still going on?
Their season's over.
Okay, yeah. And sometimes it's kind of tricky, but I want to see their official roster today. But I guess that's what the plate IQ probably has, right? I assume those names are accurate, and there's a handful of lefties lurking.
I mean, what was it? September 1st is when they extended the rosters for MLB?
Yeah, it's no longer 40 men, but like they extended to 28 or 30. Is it maybe 30 now?
And 30. Usually that's mostly bullpen arms, and young players that have talent.
All right. Shortstop. Did both of you guys give your thoughts as far as third base? I apologize. I've been scrambling about the Rockies the last 5 minutes.
Mine were basically the same as Stevie's, but I'll just recap it. Like for me on Fanduel, or McMahon is only third base eligible. He's my favorite. Riley's number 2, but I love both of those plays. Justin Turner's fine. Max Muncy at third is fine, but Riley and McMahon are really the top 2. And I don't mind Alex Bregman as a tournament pivot.
Yeah, Houston's just going to be completely buried in this slate. It's just, they're a good ball club. Their total's really low, too. The ballpark stinks. Rasmussen's fine. But, just acknowledge their existence, I think, to some degree if you're running out some MLB lineups. TJ, what do you have as far as shortstop?
Brandon Crawford, top play. Trey Turner is my number 2. Dansby Swanson, number 3. And then if I need to get cheap for some reason, I'd maybe mess around with somebody like Javi Baez or Pena in a contrarian Houston stack. But Brandon Crawford as kind of the cheap play, and Trey Turner and Swanson up top are definitely the top options.
Where are we at as far as likes, as far as Spidey bombs? We got to knock out
only
Spidey
40. We're 10 away.
All right. Hopefully we'll get one of those before we step aside and get out of here. Stevie, what do you have as far as shortstop? Lindor and Adames against 2 good pitchers. Scherzer will give up a homer ball on occasion. Adames is kind of an interesting tournament play as a one-off if you don't want to stack Milwaukee on the full. But where are you at shortstop-wise? Who's popping for you?
I like Crawford and Gunnar Henderson as like cheap plays. And then if I'm going to pay up, it's either Swanson or Wander Franco.
It's a Jose Siri revenge game, I'm being told in chat. This might be first blood. This might be his very first revenge game against Houston. I feel like they haven't played against each other, but maybe I just didn't notice it. Batting ninth against Luis Garcia, Jose Siri. Good for him.
We have a 20% pinch hit risk for Mike Yastrzemski, a 41% pinch hit risk for Jock Peterson.
Yeah.
And 53% pinch hit risk for Lamont Wade.
It wasn't Wade kind of dinged? Is he?
And then Luis Gonzalez and Joey Bart both have 22%.
But this goes back to the conversation we were having earlier as well. Like the Giants are in a position now where they're not playing for anything. Are they going to keep pinch hitting, or are they going to let these guys get some at bats?
Maybe the vets no and the rookies yes, but I don't know. I don't know what their organizational decisions are. It's a good question.
And also, regardless, it just like it makes me like the righties in this lineup even more, because everybody that's in the lineup is going to be in a great spot, and you're going to look at like people are going to look at things like plate IQ and other stuff and see like, oh, Lamont Wade and Jock Peterson have the best numbers against righties, and they're probably going to be among the chalkier players. So I don't mind mixing in a lot of these San Francisco right-handed bats.
Wade is dealing with a side. That's his body part. I don't know what's his left side or his right side, but he's got a side. That's why he did not play on Sunday. I don't know if he's going to go tonight. Maybe that's one of the reasons why the San Fran lineup's being held up. Or, it's just kind of a West Coast game, so that game's not around the corner just yet. Let's hit up the outfield, Stevie. Again, there's a lot of cheap stuff in San Fran that may get the hook. We'll see. Stay tuned on that. Acuna, the power's been down this year. He's been dealing with that knee. Earlier in the year, he said like his knee was killing him, basically, and last quote I saw is apparently it's feeling a little bit better. It depends on the day. I love Santander at 2.8K. He was my
2 homers in the last 3 games for Acuna.
He's on fire. His exit velocity is way up right now.
Yeah, so he said he's feeling better and he's hitting home runs, and I get what is like 16 or 17 in the season, whatever it is, it's down. Obviously, he kind of makes up with it some degree with the wheels, which I don't know if he's going to be running much. He hasn't ran, I think, in a week or so. But good speed power combination. The top of that Atlanta lineup. The price is pretty fair, especially on FanDuel at 3.8. I'll start with you, Stevie. As far as the outfield, Hayes is another potential cheapie if you need to save some salary. That's why, Rosario's really cheap. There's salaries to me doesn't mean a heck of a lot in this slate because there's a lot of cheap stuff I like. But you go ahead, Stevie.
I mean, you also don't like Scherzer, so
I don't dislike Scherzer.
You said you hate him and that you'll never play him again. So
Dean also said he hates Canada before the show.
Yeah,
I did say that.
This is a rough day for Dean, but
I like Canada.
I mean,
because Dean doesn't ever look at the screen, he probably doesn't realize cards and cheese are here. But
I'm just waiting to hear what else he hates before we jump on in.
Kittens.
He hates ice cream.
Overrated.
Cheese. He hates ice cream.
Oh.
Well, Roth's not here just yet, so Roth is gonna. I assume
some microphone issues, so he can hear you, but we can't hear him. So we'll see what happens. But for now, there he is.
Cards, did you give whatever your mic issues? Did you pass that on? Was it contagious that Roth picked that up?
No, mine does it either at the top of the hour or 15 past or 30 past or 45 past exactly. And it did it right at 5 o'clock on the nose. And so I was able to catch it and turn it back on. So we should be good for the rest of the show because it seems to only do it once an hour. But Roth seems to be a hot mess down
Roth,
there.
you're with us or what? Can we hear
say
you?
a word so we can hear you.
He sounds great.
Seemed very promising.
So for now, I think Card should do the talking and Roth should do
he's going to be the mime. I tell you what, Stevie's got the Dolphins hat on up there. Congrats.
Oh boy.
Tough day for my Ravens yesterday. What I like to do is I like to sports bet the emotional hedges. So when I saw the game slipping away, I did bet the Dolphins at plus 1,000. So that
there you go.
That softened the blow a little bit. But it was a pretty incredible comeback and a pretty incredible day of football yesterday.
At what point in the game did you get that plus 1,000?
When they made it 7, and then they were still, so the Ravens were up 7 with the ball with like 6 minutes to go.
Stevie, was that the most exciting Dolphin game of your lifetime? I feel like it was.
No.
It was the most exciting Dolphin game of my lifetime because if you listen to the FanDuel Friday show, the Dolphins were my favorite stack on FanDuel.
Did you win a bunch of loonies and toonies?
I would have. I profited. I had a good week, but I would have won a bunch of money if I would have had the Jaguars defense as opposed to the Jets defense in my lineup.
So what game tops that one, Stevie?
New England game. What was it? 4 years ago? That like long play to, like, you have to understand, like, the Ravens. They're not a Dolphins like rivalry. Like beating New England on a last game, like a last second play, like a huge play that should have never happened. I mean, that's always going to be top. And like I was watching that game with like my brother-in-law, and he's from that area, so like it was good.
So you got the taunt him, which you're reading on a curve.
100%. Oh yeah.
Well, that was the game where Gronk was like diving, trying to make a tackle because he was playing a defense to like knock the ball down. I remember that play now.
The Ravens win probability was up to 98.7% at one point. The good news is that wasn't even the worst blown win probability of the day.
Here it is.
That one belonged to the Cleveland Browns, who got up to 99.2. So, it's just a rough day all around for us. That's why we're here to talk baseball.
Dave, you got no comment? You need a couple days?
That was the worst thing. Oh, and my poor son, he's gotten into it at almost as much as me, which is ridiculous. And he had to get to work. So he waits until we get the first down, under 2 minutes left, before we even score the touchdown, go up 13. We're like, well, we could pretty much just kneel on it. And then we score a touchdown. I text him. He's at work now. I'm like, yeah, Chubb just got a third touchdown to ice it. And we're like, and then like I'm paying the bill and I look up and like, somehow it's only a 6-point game now, and I'm and then I see a replay of this one. I don't even want to talk about it more than that. This is dumb. Stop.
I mean, I can't believe that. So I had a team yesterday that had Lamar, Waddle, Andrews, and then it had Wilson and Chubb as like a run back. So it was a good day. Like I know it hurt for you.
Was seeing all those people shoot up the standings with this goofy Wilson lineup. I was like, cut it out.
0.3% owned, dude. I played so much Chubb that like at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I got on some Wilson to pair with Chubb just because I knew they were going to be playing from behind, and it worked out on one of those teams.
Stevie, I'm so very happy for you, except I'm not at all happy for you.
And the Dolphins won. I mean, it was a good day.
Well, the fact that was a Ravens game kind of helped make up for it. Like it's kind of like when Auburn loses, as long as Alabama loses, but that doesn't really happen with the Ravens. They can suck it.
So it was a rough day. I believe the entire AFC North lost yesterday, so everyone can commiserate together. Anyway.
Cards, you might be.
I'll host the show, Ross. While Ross doing the hokey pokey, I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah, he's kind of bouncing back and forth. Myself and TJ and Stevie. Anything for the boys before we step aside? I think we hit 50 likes, TJ. So give the people what they want. They want a Spidey bomb.
We did, and Spidey bomb today is going to be Max Muncy at that ugly second base position. He's going to hit one out at the late night hammer. And Cheese, tell us, are Stevie and I crazy for thinking we can play Max Scherzer tonight?
What are you trying to get out of him?
I said I think he can go 90 to 95 pitches.
So, yeah, see, here's the thing. Like, I'm kind of with, like, it shouldn't be projected, and it's not likely. But, yes, like, because of where the Mets are at the standings, and they're playing if this is like a one-run game and he's rolling, yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like, I don't think this is the spot where they pull him just because it's the first start back. So, I mean, I don't love him, but, yeah, I think you can play him. And the scenario is there for him to get those 90 pitches.
See, me and Cheese are one. And on that note, I'll see you guys at 6:45, kicking you guys out for the football show. Dean, it was fun. TJ, was fun. Good luck,
It'll be
everyone.
a new stream, I believe. But Dave,
Either
that
way.
said, you set the over/under on pitches for Scherzer. Like, it's in the realm of possibilities.
Oh, yeah, but see, I would still say if they can get him out at 75, they will.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. How many
78 and a half.
Preference
There's your
is
number.
to limit him. It's just that if it's that 1-0 game and he's pitching like elite Scherzer, then I think they don't pull him.
How many lineups you playing tonight, Dave? And how many lineups do you get to Scherzer?
So I have 0 on FanDuel, and I have like 5% on DK.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to have him either. But, like, I'm not here to besmirch, but
Yeah, I get it. I'm not getting there on FanDuel personally.
the pivots
I don't
are
have
good.
him on FanDuel. I have him on 1 of 3 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I think that's viable. Yeah.
All right, I will yield. Stevie, you were supposed to leave, Stevie. I thought we were going to, like, you gave the – all right.
Well, you started talking over-under. I wasn't going to let you have the last word on Scherzer. Like, gosh.
I wasn't making – I was just asking a question. I was curious where Dave was on that. But
No, yeah, we're on the same page. So y'all have
TJ's
fun.
already taken off.
See you guys at 6:45 for the football show.
That was Stevie. That was TJ. I was Dean. I'm going to step aside as well. Well, I guess it's just the two of y'all. Cards, I will yield to you. Have fun talking some baseball and some football later on with Stevie.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Dino. And welcome to Crunch Time, sponsored by FanDuel here on RotoGrinders. Sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. Bet $1 and you can get $200 in free bets right off the top. Terms and conditions apply there. But Roth, MIA for now, trying to figure out audio issues. So we'll two-man booth it here. If and when Roth can make it back, we'll welcome him in. But the weather board looks entirely green. So that at least saves us some trouble on there. I am Justin Van Zuiden, aka STL Cardinals 84, with Dave Potts alongside. And as we've already talked about, we both had bad NFL days with our teams yesterday. So we'll stick to baseball here. Cheese, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. It's a weird little slate where there's just such a concentrated little group of things to like on both sides. I'm having a hard time getting off of chalk. Just because of how clear it is.
Yeah, with the size of the slate, it's a little bit wonky, and that's why we've got the early start tonight, because there's only 7 games, and 2 of them kick off at 6:40. So I guess I shouldn't say kickoff, football term. 2 of them have first pitch at 6:40. So we'll get the early start, and that's I like that on a slate like this, because otherwise we'd be down to a 5-game slate and have even more chalk. And pretty good pitching tonight for a short slate. So we kind of talked about Scherzer there before the other guys took off. Scherzer's coming back from the injured list to pitch tonight, and Burns is on the other side. So that should be a really fun game. The National League wildcard race has gotten really tight between the Phillies, the Padres, and the Brewers for 2 of the 3 spots. And then you've got the Mets trying to hold off the Braves in the NL East. And I believe both teams swept their opponents over the weekend, and the Braves have Washington now. So that's an important series with Milwaukee and the Mets. And you've got 2 aces there tonight. So that should be a fun game. It probably highlights the slate. And we've got some solid additional pitchers as well. It's a pretty deep pitching slate. So your thoughts on the arms tonight?
Yeah, it's a very good pitching slate. We kind of talked about it a little bit there before Stevie left. Like the Scherzer thing, if everyone were a full go, Scherzer would be the guy here in this matchup. But his first start back, he didn't pitch long in the rehab. Like, theoretically, if this weren't such an important game, I would completely X him out. as it is, I still have him like, I don't know, not sixth probably for raw points, but like he's sixth or seventh on my list, because if they have the opportunity to get him out after 5 innings, that's what they're going to do. Like, they're not going to push him too far. Whereas Corbin Burns has no ceiling, a limit. Like, he's been going 110. Like, and Kershaw, another guy who he's great, but we're looking at 90 pitches. That's just what they're doing with him the rest of the season. And his matchup isn't great for strikeouts. I think Burns is the very clear guy to spend up on. But even with that, it kind of limits what you can do with your lineup. And we've got a very interesting mid-tier, like you mentioned. On DraftKings, we're going to have this weird Edward Cabrera chalk. Because he's cheap and he's facing the Cubs, and I get it and I like it. But I don't love a chalky guy who can't throw strikes, and that's what he is. So on FanDuel, like, Cabrera is a very long shot, unnecessary pivot, but he'll also be lower owned. But still, I don't think he'll be sneaking. I would personally rather play Kyle Wright and or Clayton Kershaw than Edward Cabrera. So basically, Burns is my ace. Then on FanDuel, Wright and Kershaw at 10-1 and 9-7. Those are the guys I like. You don't really need to go much cheaper than that in a lot of lineups. But I am playing a little bit of Wade Miley on FanDuel at 8K. And then on the DraftKings side, this Edward Cabrera salary makes things really tough, because you can play him with Burns and make a good lineup, or you can play him with someone else and play whatever you want. But again, I think he's going to be like 50% owned. I think that's what we're showing him at. And he's just not that good. Theoretically, this is the game he should be able to be that good, make that talent come through. But I'm under the field on him. I'm trying to play more Kyle Wright if I can. I'm a little too interested in Wade Miley. My like for Wade Miley is a little bit unjustified and ridiculous. It's one of those more, I'm just telling you that I'm playing a lot of Wade Miley more than I'm telling you that I think you should. I think you should play Kyle Wright and Kershaw if you can't get up to Burns.
We've actually got Cabrera as the highest owned pitcher on FanDuel too, which is very strange to me.
It is strange. I think that'll come down, but I think he'll be up there. I think he'll be pretty close. I think what you do with Cabrera is, if you're playing chalk offense, if you're playing Coors Field or the Braves, I think you want to be careful about playing Cabrera. But if you're stacking anyone else, like any of these, the Astros or the Rays, even the Dodgers, I think you can go ahead and play Cabrera.
Hi, Roth.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Have you pivoted to a phone?
Yeah. I didn't even know you could do this on a phone. Did you?
I do now.
Yeah, just in case. I imagine I don't sound great, so sorry about that. But you can hear me at least.
Oh, you sound and look great. Everything about you.
Right.
This is wonderful.
Lighting is beautiful. Yeah. Anyways, Cards, what are you doing here, pitcher-wise? Cheese, thank you for that rundown.
Yeah, I did the. I gave the shout out to FanDuel as well. I did the intros. It was great. So
I was pretty impressed, man. I was like, wow, he's gunning for my job over here.
I mentioned that everything's green. It went through that difficult weather forecast that we've got tonight too. It was. I'm glad you're here, because I was really sweating it out there. So, the pitching slate tonight is a little unique for the reasons that Cheese mentioned. I don't get the Cabrera chalk on FanDuel at all with the price tag. I know people are concerned about Scherzer's pitch count. I know they're concerned about Kershaw's pitch count, but these are just better pitchers. So I'm pretty much in alignment with Cheese on what to do at pitcher tonight, and particularly on FanDuel. It just doesn't make sense to try to go for something cheap. I don't see a big ceiling in Luis Garcia to justify him over one of those other guys. Like, you got Kyle Wright, that's like a minus 375 home favorite or whatever the Braves are tonight. You've got Burns in a very important game. You've got Scherzer in a very important game. I'm not quite as high, I guess, on Kershaw as far as ceiling is concerned, because obviously we know he's only going to throw about 85, 90 pitches, but still very safe. And I just don't think the cheap stuff makes a whole lot of sense tonight. Like, Merrill Kelly is 9K. And while he's been good this year, you're just not playing him against the Dodgers. The site to go cheaper would be potentially, because we've got a Coors Field game with an obviously high total. The site to go cheaper would be on DraftKings. I do think Garcia is a little more viable over there, but he's only $500 less than Kyle Wright. So I think, you try to make Kyle Wright your SB2 if you can. Otherwise, I'm fine with Cabrera over there. It's Fanduel where I don't think Cabrera is the play, but 7,500 on DraftKings, he's fine as your SP2. Otherwise, you could maybe sprinkle in Miley, who Cheese mentioned, or even Tyler Wells, I think, in GPPs, but a little rough once you get past those 4 or 5 top options tonight.
Okay. I mean, that seems like plenty of options, to be fair, but cards, what are we doing here stack wise? What do we like?
Yeah, because there are decent pitchers going for most teams, you will notice that basically we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams with implied totals of 3.7 runs or less. So there's just not a lot of offense because we've got good pitching and we've got some bad offenses. So the only teams with team totals above 4.5 are the Giants and Rockies at Coors, the Dodgers, the Astros, and Baltimore. And all of those teams, because it's a relatively short slate with not a ton of offenses, those 5 teams that I just mentioned are all going to have a decent amount of ownership. And I think you can probably just play. The Dodgers won't be as owned because people tend to respect Merrill Kelly. But the Coors game will be owned. Atlanta will certainly be owned. And Atlanta is wildly underpriced in general on FanDuel. And then, Baltimore, to me, Baltimore, in terms of where our projected ownership is at, if it's right, Baltimore's the best value stack because we've only got 2 of their guys in the double digits in ownership and 3, a couple of them at 11% on FanDuel. So if I had to pick a overweight stance, it would probably be on Baltimore, but Coors and the Braves are the popular ones.
Okay, Cheese, Coors and the Braves 1 and 2, and then do you agree with where the ownership's coming? And then what do you like?
Yeah, and when I say Coors and Braves 1 and 2, it's really Braves 1 and then a huge gap and then Coors.
Gotcha.
In what I like, I think it'll be close in ownership, but like to me, the Braves are a top tier of their own. And like if I was playing 5 lineups, I would play 5 Braves and no Coors, and that's what I would have. Definitely agree that Baltimore is they're not sneaky, but compared to the Braves and Coors, it's sneaky-ish. And really the Dodgers probably are too. So that's kind of where I'm at. Okay.
You want to go a little position by position action here, Cheese?
Oh, I certainly do.
Okay. Start us off with a little catcher talk over on.
Yeah. So most every position, it's going to be, there's a Braves guy that I really like. And then there's Coors Field stuff. The top 2 catchers, like if there were no salary cap, are somewhere else. That's going to be Will Smith and Adley Rutschman. I don't know. I like Rutschman a lot. I like him on FanDuel more. I don't think catcher is a great spend up spot. Darno is the guy I would most want to get to at 4K. Otherwise, you can punt it in Coors with Servin, or we're still waiting on a Giants lineup. If Austin Wynns is in minimum salary, I think he's fine. But ideally, I would play Darno at catcher.
Okay, cards.
Yeah, definitely no catcher on FanDuel for me tonight, other than maybe Rutschman. But it's certainly not necessary unless you're going for part of a stack, in which case maybe you throw a Contreras or Will Smith in there. But otherwise, on DraftKings, you're gonna have to be cognizant of the salary cap tonight because there's premium spends at almost every position. And so as easy as it would be for us to just say you play Rutschman on DraftKings as your catcher, I don't know. I just think from an opportunity cost perspective here, it does make sense to go cheaper at the position. Darno at 4K hitting 5th makes the most sense. Even Servin at min salary or whoever catches for the Giants. I like Rutschman Smith, no problem. I just don't think it's the best spot to spend all that salary tonight.
Gotcha. As Dean would say, we live in a world with the salary cap. Okay, take me to first base, Cards.
Yeah, so first base is I have no idea why Matt Olson is 2,900 on FanDuel.
He's cold. I mean, if you're cold, you should be free. Like he should be $300.
It should be priced. The old Draft Street did that one time. I think they made the Jets defense $1 one time. It was an old DFS football week, but they were going against a really good team. They made him $1. But so Matt Olson will be $300 Wander Franco pricing soon. But I got to think he's going to bounce back. This is a great matchup. 2,900 hitting cleanup against Abbott. Mountcastle's only 2,500 against a lefty. Plenty of power there. To me, it's those two guys. Like, I don't have any problem with CJ Crone either, but Olson and Mountcastle from a points per dollar projection is pretty tough to beat those two guys tonight on FanDuel. It's a little bit different on DraftKings because Olson is priced at 4,700. So he's still a very strong play. He's just not mandatory or like way ahead of the field like he is on FanDuel. I do like Mountcastle on DK, 3,900. But you could go to a Coors guy like Toglia, Wade if he's leading off for the Giants, though there's some pinch hit risk there. But I do really like Olson tonight.
Okay, Cheese, first base.
Yeah, Olson's the chalk, and I like it a lot. Like I mentioned, I would just play Braves if I was doing a few lineups. On FanDuel, we do have 3 Rockies first base eligible. Connor Joe is back. You can play him in the outfield as well. But I do like Rockies. You can full stack them, but I like just kind of 1 or 2 Rockies here or there for power. I think Crone is up high on that list. Freddie Freeman will be the forgotten guy. And I also think you could do a Baltimore stack with Aguilar and Mountcastle on FanDuel just to be different. And then on the FanDuel side, again, we're waiting on this San Francisco lineup. And I don't honestly like Lamont Wade even in full stacks that much. He's great and he's cheap, but I would rather play like Montero or Toglia or Aguilar if I need a cheap first baseman, or just go with Olson.
Okay, second base.
There's the Giants lineup.
Okay.
Wade, Estrada, Peterson, Flores, Crawford, BR, yes, Gonzalez. Who's missing from that? Okay, sorry. So Wade is leading off, so he'll be pretty popular. And we do have the Austin Wins punt at catcher, what we talked about.
Okay, great. Second base.
Okay, so my favorite Giants bat is Wilmer Flores. Like he's the one guy that shouldn't get pinch hit for in this whole lineup. Maybe 8 different guys, but Flores should be in there the whole day. And that he'll be taken out, right? Because I said that. Max Muncy on FanDuel is quite interesting. Because I like the Braves so much, even though Vaughn Grissom isn't one of the first 4 or 5 Braves you put in your lineup, this is a very weak position. So I like getting that from one of the teams that I actually like, which is why I like Flores. And then on DK, Ryan McMahon can go at second base. So he's going to be my favorite second baseman there. Except Flores is only second base on DraftKings, where he's multi-position eligible on FanDuel. So all that to say, Coors Field and a Brave is what I like.
Okay, Cards, second base. Coors Field and a Brave?
Yeah, Coors Field and a Brave is fine. I also don't mind going cheap here. And we can have Ross, one of Ross' new favorite players. The Marlins have called up Charles LeBlanc. So he's 2,300 and he's sitting
Charles
second.
Dwight, as they call him.
What's that?
Sorry, Carrie. I'm just talking amongst myself, honestly.
Well, LeBlanc, the freshman, is sitting second for the Marlins, and he's 2.3K on DraftKings, which I don't know how good he is or if he's anything of a prospect, but the position is so bad. And again, you have a salary cap. I'm fine spending up for Flores, but he's 4,800 on DK. If you just can't get there, like McKinstry and LeBlanc are cheap options.
Ramon Uri on DK as well is second base.
Yeah, he's 3K as well. So you can go cheap here for sure.
Okay. Take me to third base. I imagine we're spending up. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, third base is a little bit different because it's not like most of the elite third basemen, Devers, Arenado, Machado, like those guys aren't on the slate tonight. Just all off days for a lot of those elite third basemen. But we do have Austin Riley. On FanDuel, you've got Muncy that you can play at second or third. He's sitting fifth tonight. You've got Flores that you can play at 8 different positions on FanDuel. Though if you're playing Flores on FanDuel, I would recommend playing him at second. Then you can play. I mean, McMahon's going to be the chalk at third, but it's not like he's had this fantastic year. So I'd probably order them Riley, then Muncy, then McMahon. But your mileage may vary on that.
Cheese, what are you doing? Where does your mileage stand there at third?
Okay, so these little pop-up windows on Line Page Q, I love them because I couldn't figure out who was out of the lineup that I had in there. It was J.D. Davis. Is not playing for the Giants. Whoop-de-doo, as they say. I want all the Austin Riley I can get, and it turns out that I can get a lot. If the Braves don't score a lot tonight, I will not be winning anything tonight, and I'm fine with that. Muncy, McMahon, Flores, and Montero, great. But, that's all fine and dandy. But really, Austin Riley is the only name I want to say.
Okay. How much Austin Riley do you have here? Let's say you're playing 20 or 150 or whatever you're playing.
I believe I could go back and look. I think I'm close to like 60%. When I originally did just like my first 20, like let me do that. It was like 90% Riley. So I went and got a few out just because that's a little silly.
Right.
But that's how much I like him compared to the position tonight.
Okay. Take me to shortstop, Cheese.
Okay. So if you enjoyed, I'm going to make a football reference here because I am worldly like that, Bengals defense chalk, then you should like Brandon Crawford. I think Brandon Crawford, he's in the lineup, right? Yeah. Okay. Like this is the guy who really just isn't that good and he's super chalky. So I think you play him in cash because of the price and you play him in Giant stacks because he's a shortstop in the middle of the Giants lineup. Otherwise, I do not think you want to play Brandon Crawford. I would play Swanson first. I would spin up for Trey Turner here and there. On FanDuel, we got Grissom over at shortstop as well. Don't ignore Gunnar Henderson in a lefty-lefty. Javi Baez is even viable. Jeremy Pena is viable. It's a weak position, but that's just going to lead to even more bad chalk on Crawford.
Okay. Cards, shortstop.
Yeah, I like the analogy there with the Bengals defense chalk because I didn't like the Bengals defense chalk and I don't like Brandon Crawford, so that jives. Not personally, I just don't like playing a chalky Brandon Crawford. And he will be popular tonight because he is cheap. Like $900 difference was Dansby Swanson, $1,400 difference with Trey Turner. Adames has to face Scherzer, so almost everybody's going to kind of gravitate there. The one guy I think Cheese mentioned Gunnar Henderson. I think Jeremy Pena too on FanDuel at 2,500, hitting second. And the guys talked about this at the end of the last show. This isn't a night where Houston's going to project like they normally do. And Rasmussen he's pretty good. Certainly not a gas can, but if you're looking for an offense that can always maybe surprise and go off on any given night, tonight is a night where you can get Houston entirely in the single digits in terms of ownership. So Pena, he's cheap on FanDuel. I think he's a really interesting tournament pivot away from Crawford. I do like Henderson a lot better on DraftKings where he's 3,400.
Let's go right into the outfield for me.
All right, so Acuna was having a terrible year, clearly not healthy, and he has finally picked it up again. And given the matchup for the Braves, even at a salary that has climbed quickly, he's up to 5,700 on DK again, 3,800 on FanDuel. Certainly, deserving chalk here. The Giants outfielders, again, you've got to play the pinch hit risk game. I like Peterson a little better than Yaz, but That's mainly a pick a straw out of a hat kind of deal. Austin Hayes is leading off for Baltimore. He's 2,500. Santander's 2,800. I mentioned I like the Orioles. I think you get some exposure to that outfield tonight because they're priced affordably. I don't mind Riley Green leading off as a GPP play for Detroit as well. He's 2,700 on FanDuel. So you can get, I say you probably get your favorite spend, which is probably going to be Acuna for most people. Alvarez maybe in tournaments, but there's plenty of value after that.
Okay, Cheese, outfield.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap everywhere on FanDuel with the exception of Acuna, Betts, and Alvarez. And then the other guy that seems like he's too priced up, but he's not, is Michael Harris. I love playing Harris in any Brave stack. He won't even be one of the 4 or 5 Braves that most people go to just because they're still not on him for some reason, but he's great. Peterson, Wade, and Yaz. I don't know. One of them will probably still be in the game at the end. Probably. Yaz, I think. Theoretically, the Rockies only have one lefty. But if they have any interest in winning this game, I don't know if they care, they would bring Gomber in as their second pitcher just because they know the Giants will take everyone out. If they don't, there's no other lefty. Like, they've got one lefty, period. So, it's possible these guys make it the whole game, but I would have to think the Rockies at least think, hey, why don't we, mess with them?
I would love the move. Bring in Gomber for like an inning to get the guys to pinch it for everybody and then bring a righty in.
They absolutely should. Mess around. Alvarez on FanDuel, I think, is a fantastical play. He's so much more expensive than everybody.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to play him, and he's the best hitter in the world. On DK, Jock is priced up so much that I would rather play Alvarez to be different than Jock to be different, or even Mookie Betts or Mickey Boots, whatever you choose. The cheap stuff on DK is a little different, although Hayes is the same on both sites. But the Rockies come in a little more on DK. Connor Joe is back again. He's 4,000. Toglia is 33. The other team I haven't mentioned at all, and there's no reason to mention any individual bats other than maybe Ian Happ. But I have a Cub stack. I have a couple because we have a 50% owned pitcher who cannot throw a strike. So there you go.
Sure. Okay, let's play one stack to win it all. Cheese, to me, it seems very clearly yours is Atlanta.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, cards.
Baltimore for me.
Okay, very nice, guys. We've got 6 minutes or so until first pitch at a weird time, correct?
6:40.
6:40. Yeah. Okay. Well, then let's get to it. MT Red Sox says, let's see. Last time Cheese said a pitcher was weird chalk, Peterson against these same Cubs last week. Does that mean we should run from Cabrera and stack the Cubs? That's literally exactly what you're talking about. Not a crazy idea, right?
It's a very similar situation, really. Cabrera absolutely could strike out 10 batters tonight. That's why he's chalk. But if they just don't swing for a while, they're all on base.
Right. Okay. Let's see. Scorekeeper says, hey, cards, I'm fading the top few projected SPs on DK and going for all the bats. I don't trust Kershaw's pitch count. I think Burns gets hit around. What are your thoughts on just paying down a pitcher and just getting all the big boys?
Yeah, it's viable, but the cheap guys can get a hit around too. So I understand the logic. Yeah, it just depends. It depends on who you're playing. Like if you're playing a Wright Garcia or Wright Cabrera lineup, like I don't think I'd go super crazy and play like Tyler Wells and Wade Miley together or something like that. But yeah, it's something like Garcia Cabrera or Wright Cabrera or something like that makes sense for sure.
Okay, very nice. DK Cash Cheese, this is for you. It is a 3v3, sir. Wins Acuna Harris or Darno, Peterson, and Hayes?
Wins Acuna Harris.
All right. DK Cash question cards. I'm coming to you, making your work for it. Best outfielder at 2,400 or less in DK Cash.
All right. You do have that open. So let's see. Let's sort by outfielders, 2,400 or less. Yeah, it's pretty ugly. I mean, most people are probably going to default to Gonzalez for the Giants. Maybe De La Cruz for the Marlins, but he said cash. I suppose I'd probably just play Gonzalez, but it's pretty weak down there. I mean, I'd probably try to get up to somebody like Hayes if you can.
Okay, great. We'll go to What's the Matter. He says, give me some home run picks. Cheese, you got a home run pick for me today?
Austin Riley.
Very nice. Cards, you got one for me?
Yeah, I do like the Baltimore guys today. Give me Mountcastle as my favorite.
Okay. Really have done a good job on these questions. Not a ton of them coming in. So I'm jumping over on the YouTube. I'm going to take a few of these. So let's see. Aaron Rasmus says, Cheese, Flores, Estrada, or Muncy at second. Who is your fave, good sir?
It would be Flores in cash, or like a smaller field tournament, a kind of a large field tournament. I would lean towards Muncy.
Very good. Big Show Brandon FanDuel question coming in here. Cards, if you had to play one, would you prefer Wells or Luis Garcia at SP?
I mean, all things being equal, I'd like Garcia better.
Okay. Are you playing either? Would you play either?
I am not on FanDuel. I have a little Garcia on DraftKings.
Okay, very good. With that, I'm scrolling up to see if there's any other questions. Hey, do you guys know it's windy right now in Buffalo?
How much?
So right now, it's very windy. It's like 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts. But as we go through the game, those winds are going to subside. And already over the next hour, I think they're going to drop down to a level that really, other than maybe someone trying to kick a 50-plus yard field goal, I just don't think it's going to be enough. So don't do anything about it. But as I was killing time, I figured I should probably.
I complain about the weather here in Illinois a lot. I can't imagine living in Buffalo.
Yeah, it's
the winter is just got to be god awful, and it's always windy.
It is. Yeah, basically, where you live and Buffalo are the two worst places in the world.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Aside, FanDuel Cash, we got 3v3 coming in. Cards, this one's for you. Olsen, McMahon, Wade, or Mountcastle, Flores, and your boy, Adley Rutschman.
Ooh. I like the second one a little better, though I might rework it to try to get Olsen in there. Like, if that's a FanDuel question, you can play Olsen instead of Rutschman, if that's a utility spot.
Okay.
I like the second one with Olsen in it.
Okay. Is Olsen better than Rutschman?
I would say yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't think anyone was better than Rutschman. I thought he was literally
Well, Olsen's also a first baseman and Rutschman's a catcher. So, I mean, on DraftKings, it's not a
the reason Rutschman's so good is he's at catcher.
Yeah, you put Rutschman at first base, and he's a above average, but not elite.
Gotcha. That makes sense. All right, DK Cash Cheese. This is for you. Servin, Montero, and Hayes, or Wins, VR, and Harris.
Servin, Montero, Hayes.
Who's Servin?
The
Colorado catcher.
Okay.
And he they believe Jake Junis will be serving him up.
There you go. I was waiting for it.
I had to think of who was pitching for the Giants to make my really stupid joke.
Sam McLeod. Oh, such a good name. I wish my last name was McLeod. Sammy McLeod says, is LeBlanc viable over on FanDuel in a large field GPP, a.k.a. the White?
Very disappointed that you did not give that any accent, Roth.
LeBlanc.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
is LeBlanc viable?
He's definitely viable on DraftKings at 2,300 at a weak position for sure.
So this was a FanDuel question.
Oh, okay. Good job, Justin, for listening.
Yes.
It's less exciting on FanDuel because I don't the salary gap, like the 2K minimum salary carries more value on DraftKings because everybody's generally priced a little higher. So he's okay, but you don't have to do it.
Okay. Very nice. We got one more question, and then we got to get out of here because we're turning the show around very quickly. We've got football pregame to get into, so don't go anywhere. If you're watching right now, we're just literally rolling the show right into some football content. It's going to be some good stuff. So real quick, last question. J. Sam says, Cheese and Cards, do you agree with this Harris ownership on FanDuel? Do you think he's going to get a little steamed?
No, he'll be lower owned among the Braves. And we got to go. But did you see that J. Sam's won a couple grand the other night? He's been with us a long time. It made me very happy to see he nailed one a couple nights ago.
Hey, that's awesome. I did not see it. Congratulations, J. Sam's. I always love to see those names
Awesome.
that we see all the time, popping up and winning some money. That's fun. Okay, really last question, then we got to get out of here. FanDuel Cash, McMahon or Flores? Straight up, Cards.
I will take Flores.
Okay, very nice. We are going to bounce because we've got some wonderful football content headed your way. Hit that like button. We got free shows going on like literally all day long. We got people calling in from phones just to get you this information. So hit that like button. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.